Okay, so we have playoff chasers Halifax Town and Gateshead kicking off tonight at 7:45. In attempts to chase the playoffs, so it's a must-win game for either side. We're closing. We're entering the closing stage of the season, and both these teams need to pick up wins so they can catch up to Eastleigh, Forest Green Rovers, even Macclesfield. Macclesfield have been pushed into this into fighting for their playoff place. And like I said, this is definitely two playoff chasing teams. They've been chasing from the start of the season. They've been in and out of the playoffs, but now they're in respectively 8th and ninth position. Halifax will be at home for this tie. Gateshead, on the other hand, away. Both of these teams have been inconsistent and have been too inconsistent, and that's the reason why they have not cemented a playoff place this season. Both sides have a squad capable of getting a playoff place, but the consistency just hasn't been there, and for that reason, both these teams are hovering out of the playoff places. So like I said, a must-win game. A draw here for both teams will feel like 2 points dropped, I'm pretty sure, as Woking, Eastleigh, Forest Green can all capitalise and make the chances of getting into a playoff position harder. So Halifax Town, they started off the season brightly, but they had a really drab period. But at the start of the year, since then, I believe they've really started picking up. But in the last month, the consistency hasn't been there. Well, the consistency in draws has. And for a team going looking for playoffs, draws are like 2 points dropped, you know. When you're looking to get into the playoffs, you need to have more wins than draws and losses. In Halifax, 5 draws on the bounce. They just haven't had that winning edge that a playoff side has to sustain a position in the playoffs, and for that reason, they are out of the playoffs by 6 points. I mean, if they win these next 2 games, if both teams win these next 2 games, they share the same amount of points. They're a similar level ability club. Gateshead, I believe, though, they have the longest away journeys. I don't know how much that could be a big factor on who wins, and that's something to take into account. But like I said, both teams inconsistent. So you can take a look at Gateshead's form. Last game was a 1-0 loss to Dover. Obviously, Dover not a bad side by any means, but if they could have at least picked up a point there, that would have been crucial, but they weren't able to. Before that, though, they had two wins. Again, one against Telford, which should be expected, and another against Macclesfield. Macclesfield really not on form, which makes you wonder if if 4th and 5th are actually going to be two teams can replace Macclesfield and Forest Green in the current standings. But anyway, back to the prediction. In this game, I can definitely see another draw. The reason for this is the inconsistency in both sides. They both seem to lack the winning edge. Halifax, the amount of draws they've had, at least 5 draws on the bounce. It really isn't good enough form to get them to sustain their position in the playoffs. I mean, they had a really good run of games, and if they could have continued that into the rest of March, then they would definitely be in the playoffs right now. But they haven't been able to do that. Suffered a 1-0 loss to Southport on the 3rd of March. So last 6 games, 5 points. Now that isn't even top half form. In fact, that's near relegation level form, and it's not good enough. On the other hand, Gateshead, they've had 10 points from their last 6 games, and although that's definitely not enough to secure a position in the playoffs, it's definitely keeping up the pace, and they've been pretty consistent in terms of getting that point amount throughout the season, and that's why they're in the position they are in now. And for this reason, though, like I said, a draw is definitely what we're looking at, and definitely in terms of handicaps, giving each team +2, as I can't see which way this game's going to go. Giving each team +2, definitely an under 2.5 goals game. I can see this ending 0-0, 1-0. Gateshead are probably stronger scorers than Halifax, thing to take into account, but like I said, this is most likely going to end in a draw. So subscribe for more predictions.